Hi, my name is Sonya Davis McLendon, and I'm from Louisiana. I am a type B dissection survivor, and I am a thoracic aneurysm survivor. And I would like to share my story with all of you today. So my story actually begins in 2004 with my mother. She was at my house one day and we were visiting in the living room, and I thought what she was having was a heart attack. So I rushed her to the emergency room, and after a lot of tests and eventually a CAT scan, we were told that she had a type A dissection and she was life-flighted to Houston, Texas for emergency surgery, which she came through very well. And we began to learn about the life of dissection, what it was, and what it would mean to all of us for the rest of our lives. Now, my mom had a real hard time with her dissection. She was already in poor health. But as her caretaker, I was there and I saw to her every need, but I also watched her go through so much medication, pain. I saw her hallucinate, and it is a really scary thing when you go to see your mom and she wants you to leave the room because she thinks that she's being cut open again and again and again, which after 7 days she did stop the hallucinating, but it was a very surreal and extremely scary thing to go through. So my mom went through 4 years of fighting, and in 2008 she had a type B dissection, at which time another surgery was required. She did make it through the surgery just fine. However, after the surgery, she did succumb to the disease, and at that time in my life, I lost my mom, my best friend, and one of the biggest pieces of my heart that I had. It's been 10 years and I miss her every day. So time went on, and a year later, my brother went to the hospital with pains that were unexplainable. And after tests and an actual misdiagnosis, he was eventually diagnosed with a type B dissection. He was sent to Houston, and they were able to do a T-bar stent in his aorta. And to this day, he is doing very well with it. He watches his blood pressure, he takes care of himself, and he lives a very full life. So then it was my turn. In March of 2013, I was sitting at my desk at work, typing up invoices, and I had the most painful feeling between my shoulder blades. It was as if someone took a knife and just stabbed me and turned it, to the effect of it actually took my breath away. And I tried to just shake it off, but when I stood up, I couldn't feel my left leg at all, and I knew something was terribly wrong. Even with all the dissections in my family, it still did not register that that is what was happening to me. and I drove myself to the hospital only to be misdiagnosed with sciatic nerve pain. Sciatic nerve pain. They sent me home full of pain medication, which just masked it, and it didn't mask it for long. And within 24 hours, I was back in the ER, and this time a CAT scan was done. And I found myself being loaded onto a helicopter, headed for Houston, not knowing what was going to happen to me. I knew what I'd been through with my mom. I knew what I'd been through with my brother, but I had no idea what was in store for me. And as a mother of a 14-year-old, I was terrified that I wouldn't make it and I wouldn't be here for her. That's all I could think about, was being here for my baby girl. I needed to get her raised, because as a single mother, I didn't have anyone to count on. I had no one that I knew would raise her the way that I would raise her. And I knew that she was going into her terrible teens, for lack of a better word, because oh my gosh. But once I got to Houston, my doctor opted to medically manage my dissection. So I stayed in the hospital for 2 weeks, or a little better than, and then I was sent home on a list of medications that was just unreal to me. I had never had to take anything stronger than aspirin or Tylenol. But I learned to take my blood pressure and keep it down and take my meds, and I got along real well for 3 years, when in 2016 my cardiologist informed me that I had a thoracic aortic aneurysm that was 5.2 centimeters, and it would have to be surgically taken care of. The plan was to have a graft put in. So he sent me to a local surgeon in Lafayette, Louisiana, and this surgeon wanted to put a T-bar in my type B dissection to quote unquote stabilize it, and then do the open heart surgery. Now this sounded like something that made sense to me at the time. So I'm going to tell you here and now, never, ever listen to a second surgeon. Never see a second surgeon, and if you do, tell him that you need to be sent directly to whoever did your first surgery or whoever diagnosed you, whatever the case. Do not let a second surgeon diagnose or make any decisions concerning your body, because this is your life. And I came very close to losing mine with the decisions I made concerning this surgeon. I allowed him to put a T-bar, and he went in through the groin, which it was not a bad surgery. But after the surgery, I was in a great deal of pain, and it just wouldn't stop, and I kept going back to the hospital in all this pain, and the surgeon couldn't find what was wrong. They couldn't see it in the CAT scans, And he told me that he believed I was simply going back for the pain medication. So I found myself back in Houston, where I should have been to begin with. And after 26 days and a major surgery on my side, in which the incision was approximately 18 inches long, they had to deflate my lung and move it, along with a lot of other of my insides, to cut out the TVAR and put in a graft, at which time they were able to see that I did have an endo leak. So although the endo leak couldn't be seen in the CAT scan because of where it was there, and I had a surgeon that just believed I was going in for all the wrong reasons, just for drugs, and that could not have been further from the truth. And because of this belief, I easily could have died. So 2 months after this major surgery, which was the most painful and horrible thing I have ever been through in my life, I was sick all through November and December. The surgery was done on November 7th, and I have never been so sick in my life. I had a real hard time with all the anesthesia as well, and I'm not good with pain medication. It also makes me very sick. So I found myself on January 20th on that operating table one more time for the open heart surgery to repair this 5.2 centimeter aneurysm that was coming out of the root of my aorta, directly out of the heart. Again, I went in, and it was the scariest thing you can imagine, because you don't know if you're coming out. And it was, I still wasn't healed from the surgery in November, so it was kind of a double whammy for me. And I went in again praying to God to get me through this, because all I wanted to do was live to get my daughter raised. I wanted to see her graduate and see her go to all the dances and all the things that teenagers do. And I went through the surgery just fine. It was a very intense surgery. The graft was very large. It went from the root of the aorta around all of my carotid arteries and sort of down into the type B, if you can understand that. And I spent, I think, 16 days in the hospital, and I went home again as sick as I'd ever been, just as sick as I was in November, if not worse, because the surgery was a little longer and the anesthesia was really hard on me. And you know, just the stress in general. So just do not ever trust anyone but your original surgeon, unless you have a problem off the top with whoever you go to. Then you stick with that surgeon, because they know what they did to you, and they know what's going on in your body, and no one else understands. It has been November 7th of 2016 and January 20th of 2017 that I went through my surgeries, and today I am doing very well in my recovery. This week I started my cardio rehab, which it was quite late in the game, but due to both surgeries so close together and a lot of stress after I was home, my recovery took a little longer than I would have liked or anticipated. And just recently, in actually June and July of 2018, I found myself in the emergency room on 2 different occasions, once in June and once in July. In June, I had overdone some things in my house because I was doing some remodeling, and I didn't tear or pull anything, but I hurt myself pretty well and spent about 5 days in bed. But I came out of that just fine, and in July I found myself extremely nauseated and dehydrated and back in the emergency room. So this time they kept me overnight, and a surgeon came in to see me, and upon looking at CAT scans, I was told that I had an ulcer and it was causing a small leak, and he wanted to go in. It was in a type B dissection, but he wanted to go in and put a T-bar in the dissection where I already had a graft. So red flags went up all over the place, and I was not quick to jump on that T-bar train this time. And I told him, send me to Houston. And that's where I went. And I got to see my surgeon for the first time since January of 2017. Well, actually February of 2017. And I was relieved to find out that what the surgeon in Lafayette was seeing was a clamp that was used to hold the graft and the aorta together. So he was actually seeing hardware that my surgeon had intentionally put into my body. So let me one more time just say, never, ever change surgeons. Don't listen to a second surgeon. They don't know what's been done to you. They don't look at your records. They automatically assume whatever it is that they want to think is going on with you. I really don't know, but twice I was told I needed a T-bar, and neither time did I need that T-bar. So be careful of who you trust, and take care of your body. Eat right, lose weight, keep track of your blood pressure. Join a support group, because without my support group and without Aortic Hope, I don't know how I would have made it through the last, I guess it was 18 months of my life. And I don't know how I would be here today with my wits about me without the help that I received from so many wonderful people. There's a lot more to the story that is Sonya Davis McLendon, but those are all key points. And I hope that, if nothing else, I have helped someone to understand a little bit more and to know that your surgeon is your lifeline. And once you trust someone, you stick with that someone. I know that my surgeons are Dr. Estrerra and Dr. Safi at Memorial Herman in Houston, Texas, and I trust them with every bit of my life. And not once did these men lie to me, mislead me, or sugarcoat anything. So I hope you all enjoyed my story, or at least got something out of it. And I hope you all have a beautiful day. And just take care of yourself, because we're all a blessing to be here. So wake up every morning, smile, and thank God that you're here. And I want to add, I did see my baby girl graduate, and it was one of the best days of my life. God bless you all, and thank you.